Welcome back to Apostolic Internship. Today we dive into 5 struggles every apostle faces, and I mean every apostle. I've had the opportunity to walk alongside those that are still in process, those who are in office, those who are doing incredible works in the kingdom. And when I rattle off these 5 struggles every single one faces, you're going to find yourself in one or more of them as God takes you through the process. In fact, these are the struggles that have been going on since before time as we know it in the apostolic era. Just go back to 2 Corinthians 4, 7 to 10, and have a look at what Paul says. He says, yeah, we have this treasure in earthen vessels. He gets it. We have something incredible that God's given us, but even though we have this treasure, not everybody always accepts it. And we don't always get what we're meant to be doing with that treasure. And so we go through a bit of a struggle. And when you don't realize that these 5 struggles are part of your process, you can become discouraged. You can waylay your call for a little while. But let me assure you, if you are called to be an apostle, whether you mess up, whether you rise up, whether you step back, or whether you leap forward, you are going to reach the destiny that God has called you to reach. Why? Because, apostle, it's not about you. It's about the kingdom. It's not about your office and not your office. It's about the kingdom. God is establishing his kingdom and he's using you to do it. So let's get through the struggle. The number one that Apostle Paul learned, and you have begun to understand as well, is the process of letting go. Now, I say this is a struggle because sometimes people think that letting go is a once-off thing. Listen, every time you get comfortable in one place, God calls you to let go. I look at how the Lord used Apostle Paul from place to place, person to person. Every time he got so much as just a little bit in his comfort zone, but God shifted him somewhere else. Now, it's very likely that you've had to let go of family, you've had to let go of friends, you've had to let go of countries, communities, spiritual fathers, mentors. It's a long list of letting go. But for those of you who've been on the way for a little bit, the letting go is what grows us. Because every time we let something go, God adds something to us and we take another step forward. The letting go is the greatest struggle and yet the greatest power of the apostolic process. If I never let go of what I had, I wouldn't have to give you what I do today. If I didn't let go of the titles, if I didn't let go of the positions that I had in the past, I wouldn't be walking this out with you today. So if you're in a process now where God is telling you to let go and you are unsure, I promise you, there is resurrection and there's promotion up ahead. Number 1, let go. Number 2, we question the call. Listen, you're not the only one. I have yet to meet someone who has risen up into leadership or apostolic office where they don't somewhere along the line begin to question, should I be here? Should I be doing this? Lord, did I hear you clearly there? Can you confirm that for me? When we become so arrogant that we think we know the beginning from the end, then, we're back to number 1, the letting go phase. Because when we read 2 Corinthians 4, 7 to 10, when I look at verse 10, look at what Apostle Paul says here. He says, always carrying about in the body the dying of the Lord Jesus, that the life of Jesus also may be manifested in our body. And the reason why we question things is because we get in the body. We get in the flesh. You see, when I have the mind of Christ, when I am thinking Christ's thoughts for me, I am sure of myself. I am confident, but I don't always live there. I know I'm not the only one. I'm being real with you. I don't always live there. I get frustrated. I wake up. I begin to think, did I really hear from God? When things don't work out like they should, I say to myself, Lord, did I hear you? Did I make a mistake? Was I disobedient somewhere? What do I need to do? And when I start asking myself those questions, you know what I know? I know I got into my carnal thinking. I know I got into the flesh. Because when I'm in the spirit and when I'm hearing the voice of God in my life, I know what I'm meant to be doing. So allow this little struggle of questioning the call to kind of be your navigator. When you begin questioning your call and asking yourself why and where, it's a pretty good indication that you've gotten a little bit in the flesh lately and you forgot to see your process through the heart and the mind of Christ, and it's time to get back. Number 3, another struggle we have is separating our enthusiasm with the actual mandate. Let me just say this very quickly. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's your mandate. Most gladly, therefore, will I glory in my infirmity, that the power of God can rest on me. I get Paul. I get this man. Yeah, most gladly will I glory in my infirmity, because every time I'm weak, he is strong. Every time I come to him with nothingness, he fills it. So that's usually where my mandate lies. God didn't call me to do the things I was naturally gifted with, because his glory will be seen in the earth, not my glory. And God, I don't know about y'all, but God delights to use me where I'm weak. God delights to pick me up where I have no place being there, no place doing it. I'm like, Lord, why do you have me here? Why do you have me doing this? You and I both know I'm not good at this. And he said, exactly. I'm going to take the glory here for what you accomplish. You're not going to take it. So a lot of that is struggling between, I'm good at this. If I do this, I know it'll work. I have the charisma for this. So I know if I preach in this way, people are going to love it. But yet then there's mandate. And the biggest difference between your enthusiasm and mandate is enthusiasm is soul power and mandate is God's power. And when you fulfill mandate, you recognize I just did something I know I could never have done. So struggle through. Struggle through. Don't just go on what you're comfortable with. Don't just go on what you know. Allow the mandate to draw you into the unknown, into the foolishness, into your point of weakness. It's not comfortable being broken. It's not comfortable letting go. But therein lies the power. You feel that? You feel that struggle inside of you? Come on. It's just a confirmation of the call of God that is on your life. Number 4, another struggle many leaders and apostles face is comparing themselves to leaders who've gone ahead. Now, the last thing that I'm going to tell you is to stop comparing yourself. Rather, I would like to suggest that you begin to respect and honor the men and women of God who have gone before you to prepare a way, that have risen way above where you stand today. This is not a race. This is not a competition. This is not to see who can build the biggest wall and establish the greatest ministry. If you begin to get in the cycle of comparing yourself to other leaders, allow that to be a flesh alarm bell again. Because when you begin to compare yourself, it means that you begin to see yourself through the eyes of man and through your own carnal mind. And so as such, you are going to struggle. Listen, when we do things God's way, then we flourish. You do things organically that you didn't think you could. And remember in my second apprenticeship where I told you it's organic. When you are in mandate, it's organic, guys. It's organic. So if you're not functioning organically, if the fruit isn't there, then mean you're comparing yourself to others, because you see what they're doing. You're like, whoa, check out this guy's flow. He flows in supernatural power. He teaches and preaches so great. Look at his great church. I'm never going to get there. Who said you're meant to get there? Take your eyes off everybody else's process and mandate and put them back on yours. But because you are running this race as a leader, you're going to recognize other leaders that excel. Instead of comparing yourself, stop for a minute and admire them, respect them, honor them, and then put your hand to the plow and get your own job done. The fifth and the toughest struggle that every single one of us face is isolation. Paul says, we are hard pressed on every side and yet not crushed. We are perplexed but not in despair. Persecuted but not forsaken, struck down but not destroyed. You find your strength in isolation. There's a reason why the Father continues to isolate you. You know, when Moses came down from the mountain and the children of Israel were worshiping the golden calf, it says afterwards he took his tent outside of town. And that is where he camped to spend time with the Lord before he went back up that mountain again to get the second set of commandments. These seasons of isolation are seasons of our greatest struggle, but also of our greatest victory. When you feel God drawing you up the mountain to be isolated from those around you, it feels like not even your spouse can be there for you, your spiritual father, your mentors, your team. It just seems like nobody is there for you. That's because God's calling you up the mountain. And just because we get used to it, and like Paul says, we're not crushed, we're not in despair, we're not forsaken, it's true. It doesn't mean it's not difficult. It is hard. It is challenging to feel that isolation, to look around you and say, but nobody understands my process. Allow me to tell you, no, nobody understands your process. They're not meant to understand your process. It's for you to walk through, go to face with the Father and get the blueprint that He's given you to establish in the earth. Let go. Get in the mind of Christ so you stop questioning the call. Let go of your natural skill set to take on your mandate. Don't compare yourself to other men and women of God. Admire and respect them and see what God's done in your life. And finally, embrace the isolation. It's our greatest struggle, but it's our greatest springboard toward victory. Now, I want to thank you for hanging out with me every Friday like this. I know you got lots to do. I got lots to do, but you took time to hang out. Subscribe. Share this with others that you know are going through the process, please. And I will be right here, same time next week with your apostolic internship. I'll see you then.